What's happening, people? Back with another reaction. Back with some Devils, that's right. A couple of you, Izzy and Eli, both sent me files of the Devils album. I guess it came out in 2002, though my understanding is at least some of the songs were written like prior to Duran coming together. It was Nick Rhodes and the original singer of Duran, Stephen Duffy, or Tin Duffy, as I guess he is known, or as he released music under for some years. I don't know too much about this project other than the fact that it is one of the founding members, or I think in some ways like the founding member of Duran. I do know that Simon has referred to him as the controller before, and I think someone was telling me that the Duran name is like trademarked like under his control. I know that it's Nick Rhodes and Stephen Duffy, the original singer. I don't think I've ever heard Stephen Duffy sing prior to this, so this will be an interesting experience to, sort of get a sense of what the original iteration of Duran may have sounded like, as well as to hear maybe the distinction between the songs they wrote, maybe late 70s, and the songs that they then added to the album when they released it in '02. So if you do know like which ones specifically were ones that were created later to sort of flesh out the album release in '02, do let me know. But I'm just going to start with the very first one that was sent to me. Just going to do them in order. So the first one is Memory Palaces. And I'm very interested by this for a couple reasons. Like one, I know a little bit about the Memory Palace concept. I don't myself use it. I think my brain is a bit too scatterbrained to be that organized, though I do appreciate the significance of linking pieces of information and perspective to images or places, such that like cross-linking them with something else allows you to sort of store them away and then re-access them by accessing that other memory. My dad is a neurologist, and I've had a sort of layperson interest in neurology for a long time, and I do understand that your brain isn't so much like a storage system. It's not like you put files in like cabinets. It's more like fire, in the sense that activating certain pathways will trigger thoughts and experiences that entailed or involved those pathways before. So if you can find a way to put a memory in a sort of thought process that relates to something else, you've basically found a way to store it, and you have the key to access it. So again, like, I don't use a memory palace, but I completely appreciate how it could be used to store information, store in scare quotes, to place information at certain cognitive crossroads, such that all you need to do to re-access that information is to go down that path again. I appreciate the concept. I remember there's an actress who is a comedy movie starring, what's his name? Michael Keaton. It's called Johnny Dangerously. It's from the early 80s. It's like a spoof comedy based on like gangster films from like the 30s and 40s. But Marilu Henner, who is like the female lead in that movie, is apparently like famous for her memory palace. She's written books about it and done, public talks and so on about how you can get started. I remember reading her talking about it. And it was very fascinating to hear the way in which, you ultimately, your mind becomes sort of a tool even beyond what it already is. It's like, you can sort of offload pieces of information to like subcognitive processes, which you can then again access by like going to that place for her, or, to me it'd be like thinking in a certain way that then like reactivates it. But so I don't practice it myself, but I am fascinated by it, and I do appreciate the way in which you can make your brain work for you in that regard. So it could be in relation to the concept specifically, but I suspect maybe it'll be more a metaphor, in the sense that certain places retain memories and experiences for people, right? They have subjective connotations that, it's not the chair or the room itself, but it's what happened when you were sitting in that chair, who you were talking to in that room, or the memories you shared while living in the same house, and sitting in that living room at night, watching movies, making love, whatever. So I suspect that maybe memory palaces might relate to the way in which physical spaces can retain, for certain people in subjective senses, the people the understandings and the emotions that were shared or experienced in those places. So yeah, I wonder whether it might relate to the way in which human experience becomes linked to physical places, whether it's, you know, a house or a palace, an apartment or a park or whatever it is. So yeah, those are the thoughts that come into my head when I see the phrase memory palaces. Do let me know if, you know, there's a particular angle once I finish, if I don't mention it, that is worth you know, having me go back and re-explore the song in light of. But let's get to it. This is The Devils, Nick Rhodes and Stephen Duffy, Memory Palaces, from their 2002 album Dark Circles. Almost like an industrial intro. I like the tonal shift of that kind of like buzzy bass layer. Electrical edge. Okay, so we have that melodic wave, but we also have this like, it's like people talking, but like muffled and far away. This is a complete guess, and I'll probably be wrong, but it feels like this maybe is something they made for the O2 album. There are just parts of this that feel like it's not so far away from what I've heard of like Palm Trash or Medazoland. For Nick would make sense, but wow, what a statement of purpose. That is an incredible intro to an album. As I said, there are parts of that that felt like sort of edgy and industrial influence to the point where I wonder if that's one of the ones that was created anew for the release in '02. If I'm wrong, apologies. You know, and I guess it wouldn't surprise me that they had made edgy stuff like way back when, because, you know, even a couple of tunes on the very first Duran album, obviously after Simon joined. But you know, there's some grit and edge on that album too. So I guess it wouldn't surprise me, but again, there were some like contours there that felt sort of dissonant enough and edgy that, you know, it felt like an outgrowth of, again, what Nick was doing on Medazoland and parts of Pop Trash, or so I've already come to see with that album. But yeah, I enjoy it. It felt like, you know, there weren't many lyrics there, if any. There was that sort of spoken kind of layer, but it was sort of washed out and sort of distant, so I didn't pick up on any of the actual words. It was just like you could hear people talking like in a room next to you or something like that. And then there was that melodic sort of phrase, which I assume that's Duffy, and I enjoyed that. But yeah, as far as I can tell, it was an instrumental piece just about. But yeah, again, as a statement of purpose, as an album opening tune, that's remarkable, because it's very gritty. You know, again, sort of an instrumental tune. It's an interesting way to start an album. So yeah, I enjoyed it and looking forward to more. I'll be interested to hear, you know, a song where Duffy sings maybe a little more like conventionally, meaning not just as a sort of like melodic riff, and then maybe that was him in the talking parts. I'm not sure exactly what I was hearing with that. Do let me know if I'm like getting that wrong. If there actually are some lyrics, it's, you know, they're just sort of like buried within some of the other sound. But yeah, it was a cool start. I look forward to the rest of the album. As I said, I become a huge fan of Mr. Rhodes. Just love his synthesizer work, and you know, my understanding is that there's been a couple tracks I've heard where he's done like, what is it, a vocoder, where they like, it's essentially like a voice, but then it's like filtered like with effects. I forget exactly like how it works, but I do think like I've heard his voice on some of the tracks without realizing it in the moment. But yeah, I'll be interested to hear the sound, whether, you know, more tracks are like this and kind of like, you know, with a bit of sharpness to them, or whether, you know, there's others that are much more sonorous and it's sort of a, you know, a varied, like balanced album. So we'll have to see. But once again, shout out to Izzy, shout out to Eli for sending me the Devil's tracks. Very excited to go through it. Shout out to Ron. He mentioned he was excited to talk some Devils. So yeah, this is just the beginning. Hopefully you're here for it. Let me know if you are. Other than that, I'll see you next time. Peace.